All right, I remember for those who are new today, welcome. Um, we have, last week we started our talk on Mahayana Buddhism, which was a very interesting journey. I remember I was saying that if there was one thing I would like you to take home last week, it was that, oh, what was that? ABC? Oh, were you online? Okay, okay, great. Yeah, the work of the ABC. Yeah, that was from the psychological. That was from the psychology field. It's talk about how we deal with everyday experience. So that is something that related to the fundamental Buddhist teachings. Yeah. But at the end, we were left with some questions and discussions. I would like to just sorry here. Where is it? Okay, let me go to the top. Okay. Yeah, the few questions that left unanswered, let me go through them really quickly. You guys come up with more questions, just raise your hand and we're happy to discuss with you, okay? All right. The first one was, okay, how do we apply the middle path? This is a tough one, actually. Okay, but just to put that in short, middle path in Buddhism is not to go to extreme. Means that we either go to extreme of for the greed. We enjoy or indulge ourselves too much, or we don't go to the extreme of not eating, right? So that is always a path in between. But exactly how do we apply the concept of a middle path is through the Noble Eightfold Path taught by the Buddha. And we have a brief discussion last week. So the short answer is, if you really want to know how to put the teaching of middle path into daily life practice is through the Noble Eightfold Path. Yeah. So these are the guidelines for us. Okay. If everything was already transmitted and Mahayana appeared 500 years after the Buddha, how can we historically prove that Mahayana exists? It is true that many of the Mahayana scriptures or texts actually appeared after the Buddha's time, after a few hundred, after the Buddha's nirvana. So if you say how to prove they exist, well, we have a lot of textual evidence. We also have inscriptions on some of the pillars and rocks. So that shows that Mahayana actually already existed in about first or second century before Common Era. Yeah, the thinking of Mahayana is already being printed and already being passed around from the monastics to the lay people, right? So yeah, everything the Mahayana text usually came a little bit later, but it is due to a lot of adaptation to local society and also to different languages. So it's how it is. So someone saying that Mahayana was non-Buddha's sermon. Okay. Yeah, it was kind of a hot debate in last century when people say that, oh, Mahayana is not the word, are not the teachings spoken by the Buddha. Of course, yeah, you can guess who say that, right? Mahayana, we ourselves, we won't say that, oh, this is not Buddha's word. Of course, it's the same thing that when we call Theravada Buddhism Hinayana. So Hinayana is a kind of like very impolite, it's a very rude word to use. So yeah, there's are saying that the Buddha's sermon, like the Mahayana was not spoken by the Buddha. Actually, it's not true. Yeah. Through the history, we know that all the scriptures in Mahayana, actually, they are either a continuation from the fundamental teachings of early Buddhism, and also they include a lot of elaboration, right, from the core teaching itself. Like, for example, how do we apply the teachings of like the prajna, the wisdom, not just for ourselves to gain nirvana, but to help most people. So this is the highest spirit of Mahayana. right? How do we apply wisdom in helping most people? So these are the teachings that need to be explained. They need to adapt to the local society. So this is how many of the Mahayana texts that we see today are about the ideas they are being explained from the fundamental, from the very early Buddhist teachings to adapt to the new society. So, yeah, Mahayana definitely is according to the Buddha's teaching for sure. So the Mahayana slowly evolved from an open-minded Hinayana school. Yeah, this is what most scholars accept today. We believe that Mahayana is not something like revolution, right? It's not like one group of people want to kill another group of people and then there's a revolution. It's not like that. It's more like a couple. Yeah, I use an example of a couple, a married couple, right? After like 10 years, 20 years living together, they start to form different minds. They have different likes and dislikes. They have different habits. So this is how I would think about Mahayana. They started to grow from the monastic themselves. Like monks, they started to have different ideas. So how should I preach Buddhism? How can I help more people? So the mindset, they have different goals and in their life. So slowly, and then they become more open-minded, and slowly they start to interpret the Buddha's teaching in a more open-minded and more contemporary, yeah, to their time. So it's true that yeah, Mahayana was slowly evolved from early Buddhism itself. How does Mahayana suddenly have so much sutras such that the canon is so big it takes forever to study when this is already transmitted and appeared 500 years after the Buddha's nirvana? So how did the Mahayana Sutta get so huge and so many of them? Well, it didn't appear overnight, right? You have to know that it took a few hundred years, at least a few centuries, for them to be compiled and composed and compiled and then become one another. So it took a few centuries to get to that amount. Yeah, same as the sutras for Theravada, the Nikaya, right? We have different sections, we have different parts of volume in Nikaya. Actually, it slowly like gaining into the number of volumes, the number of stories, the number of preaching they collected throughout the time. It takes a few hundred years to actually complete the compilation of Nikaya. So same as Mahayana Buddhism. It didn't happen suddenly, okay? It took a few centuries. So this is a long one. All right, so it's comparing Mahayana Buddhism and Theravada Buddhism. Is that Mahayana focuses on dual power practice? Okay, I think I can guess what it means by dual power practice. Okay, first of all, we have to know that Mahayana doesn't mean one specific school. There are more than 10 schools in Mahayana now. Like myself, I belong to the Chan tradition, or in Japanese, it's called Zen. Chan means meditation, yeah, dhyana. So for us, we don't focus on, I don't know what you call the higher power or the superpower from the Bodhisattva or the Buddha. Right? It's more a meditation to clear up your mind and to get the wisdom. So of course there are other schools from Mahayana. One that I will discuss a little bit about is about going to the Pure Land of the Amitabha. Right? Even in that school itself, they have different branches. I know when I was in Japan that when I spoke to the what did they call that? Yeah, um, the Pure Land Buddhism, yeah, from Japan. I remember the priest, he told me that, oh, we don't rely on ourselves. If you want to go to the Pure Land of Amitabha, you need to actually pray and you ask Amitabha and his colleagues, I mean, all the bodhisattva, to help you, to give you extra power to get to that stage. We can rely on ourselves. I was a little bit I was a bit shocked when I hear that because that was really quite different from my understanding of my own bringing up of studying Buddhism. So in short, when you say Mahayana focuses on dual power practice, it depends on which school you're talking about. Yeah, the Pure Land Buddhism, maybe, yeah, what branch of it. It talks about how important the superpower from the Amitabha itself is so important. But other schools, they say, no, even when you chant the name of the Amitabha, it's yourself that you're chanting to yourself. Because you yourself already you already have the seed to become a Buddha. Right. So there are different teaching about it. So it's not just one. All right. And the rest, I think, yeah, your observation is quite correct. So anyway, you can go to the next one. If you have any question, you can just raise your hand, okay? Is it true that 八正道是天乘法，未能脱轮回? Okay, the Noble Eightfold Path is a teaching of the heavenly vehicle, and it cannot lead to liberation from the cycle of samsara. Okay, you say that the Noble Eightfold Path, it means that it is for you to go to the heaven. It is not for us to become liberated. Is it true? Well, I'm not sure where you heard this from. Maybe they are because we understand that the practice of the Noble Eightfold Path, it has different levels. Yeah. When you come to the mundane world, you teach people, oh, don't kill, do good deeds. Well, when you're accumulating merits like that, when you're cleaning your mind, definitely, you will be able to reborn in the heavenly vehicle. It depends on your goal. But if our goal is to achieve Buddhahood, is to gain enlightenment, the Noble Eightfold Path contains all the steps we need. Remember the last two of the Noble Eightfold Path. The last one is uh, the the correct sati, the correct meditation, and also the correct wisdom, right? The higher wisdom. So the training of wisdom is actually the essence of Buddhist teaching, right? So depends on which level our prajna, our wisdom will achieve. Ultimately, by following the steps taught in the Noble Eightfold Path, we will be able to achieve nirvana. So that is for sure. Yeah. So it's not just to be born on the heavenly world. It depends on your goal. All right. Do you think Tibetan Buddhism or practice is more like a culture in nature rather than a teaching of Guru Shakyamuni Buddha? No, actually, not just Tibetan Buddhism. All forms of Buddhism. Theravadan Buddhism, Chinese Buddhism, Japanese Buddhism, we have two parts. The main thing is a fundamental one is like the ones that contains the Buddha's teachings, right? Or they're all the same, contain the Buddha teaching. But the culture part, right? If you go to Tibet, people will greet you with Jasitele, right? And if you go to China, right, people say, oh, Ami Tofu, right? Of course, it's from Buddhism, but there are also many other aspects which are from the culture. So when you say that Tibetan Buddhism are more cultural or more cultural than the teaching of the Buddha, no, it's not. Actually, all schools, we have a culture part and we have a core teaching part. Okay. So yeah, I do observe the same with Chinese Mahayana concept and Taoism. So should we separate the two? Yeah, we should understand the difference between the two. If you heard about Taoism, right? Taoism, actually the essence of Taoism is about being one with the nature, be nature. And then the next essence is about how to become non-duality. For them, it's like, not non-action, in Taoism. That means non-action means that you don't create any karma and then you stop everything right there. That you are already there. You have everything here. So these concepts are quite close, quite similar to the Buddhist teachings of sunyata, which is the emptiness, and also the non-duality. I won't say they are exactly the same, but when we try to explain to people who are new to Buddhism, who are Chinese background, they can use the idea from Taoism. Yeah, well, in Buddhism, we talk about being with nature, we talk about non-duality, and from their point of view, right, they can understand Buddhism better. Of course, you need to guide them, a little bit further down the road. But initially, the culture has a very important role for us to initiate people, all right, to attract them to come to know Buddhism. So this happens to all Buddhism, not just Taoism, not just the Tibetan culture. Okay. All right. I think that's all for the question. Fine. Okay, just type it out in Zoom if you have more questions, or for those of you sitting here, just raise your hand. Yeah, we can definitely discuss more. Yeah. So today we are going to the session 2, Chinese Buddhism. We talk a little bit about what are the major sutras, about what are sutras, what are Chinese scriptures, how they came about. Okay. Of course, we have to, at this stage, we have to know that there are distinctions between, what are the distinctions between the Theravada Sutras and the Mahayana Sutras? We need to compare them. Last week, we opened to the floor and many of you came up with a lot of interesting ideas. Mostly they are on, how to say, living, I would say the living habit. Yeah, like for Theravada Buddhism, they usually eat one a meal or twice a day and no meal afternoon. It's like they don't, usually Theravada monks don't drive, or they don't hold any kind of cash in their hand. Yeah. So these are more like how we live our life, how we appear to the public, the differences. So, but in actually, when you talk about Mahayana teachings and Theravada teachings, what are the most important differences? Yeah, I'm going to bring out 3 points. Yeah, just to know that, these are some of the basic ideas that are different. Okay, of course, nothing has an intrinsic nature. What does that mean? Everything is dependent on causes and conditions. Right? Remember, we talk about the 12 codependent, the 12 codependent links, right? You say that everything, because there's a cause and then there is a result. So yeah, this is both. There's nothing new. Theravada Buddhism, early Buddhism, Maya Buddhism, they all stay the same because this is a fundamental teachings, right? So because of that, right, the true state of everything is empty, shunyata. This also applies to all Buddhism, right? No difference. You go to Theravada Buddhism, they talk about emptiness. You go to Mahayana, oh, we love emptiness, right? But what is the difference? Right? Empty of what? That is the one that tells us apart. Mahaya and Theravada. Okay, empty of what? Right? The thing is, when you talk about when we say about early Buddhism, Theravada Buddhism, when we talk about emptiness, you talk about, okay, a self, right? A person, yourself, myself, people like us, we are empty. What you're seeing me, like Youmin, sitting right in front of you, right? I'm nothing, just like you see my outlook. I have skin, I have ears, I have the physical elements, right? What else do I have? I have my sensory organs. I can hear, I can speak, or I can think, or maybe, at least I know I can think, right? You hear me speaking, okay. Oh, so fundamentally, right? Early Buddhism, like Theravada Buddhism, they said that this image of Youmin, someone called Youmin, who is sitting right of you, right, is empty because this thing is not real. What is real is you hear the voice, right? You see the eyes, you see the physical body, you hear him speak. So these are, I would say, like a Lego parts. The parts that form Youmin is real, but Youmin itself is not. Does it make sense? Like last week, we show a comic on the Lego part, right? like a young girl, like she was playing with a Lego, and then she made a house. So, and then the father asked her, "Is the house real?" And then when they broke it, house is not there anymore. But what is left, right? The Lego part are still there, right? So from the Theravada Buddhism, okay, the house is not real. Yomin is not real, but the parts are real. You see, Lego parts are still there. You can use the same parts to create another house, to create a car, anything you want. Same thing as me, right? When I die, right? All my body, my parts all go back to the earth. And the earth element, all those nutritions and everything, they will form another human being, another living being, and another form. So this is a way that Theravada Buddhism understand emptiness. Right? My human is not real, but at least the cells in my body, part of it, right? You go to the smallest part, they are real, they exist. Okay, so this is Theravada Buddhism. How about Mahayana? Mahayana go one step further. They say, no, 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 no. Okay, of course, the house is not real, but even the bricks that form the house, they are not real either. So for Mahayana Buddhism, emptiness go to the very, so it almost deny all existence. Okay, elements, the basic elements, the atom is not even the even atom. Like for today's language, the smallest thing we can have is atom. Well, maybe not that, right? Maybe you even go to a proton, neutron, and then what else? And then you break that in. You go to something like quarks, and then latest we have the string theory. Yeah, I don't know whether you have heard of the latest what do you call that? The smallest particle, that is whether we call the string theory. It's not even real. It's just like energy, change of form here today. So Mahayana Buddhism, it's just like that. When you analyze an atom, you cut it smaller and smaller. At the end, it's nothing. So this is if you want to know about the emptiness from a Theravada point of view and Mahayana, this is it, right? Theravada will tell you, yeah, you are not real, the car is not real, but at least the steel, the iron is real. Okay. But for Mahayana, even that is not. So this is the emptiness, the difference from Mahayana Sutra. Okay. Maybe you should. Okay. I think it's on.
Sifu, so when you say that the Mahayana, they go one step further to say that the dharmas are also not real, then what is the significance here in terms of this difference?
Significance mean
In application to the teachings,
exactly. Actually, you have really mentioned a very important point here. Yeah. So what, right? Right. In short, so what? You tell me, yeah, you analyze everything to the end, but is it going to change how we attain nirvana? Is it going to change how we deal with our daily problems? No. So this is why the Buddha actually never, how to say, entertain some question they ask about, whether the Buddha will, where is the Buddha after he gained nirvana? The Buddha kept silent, right? And he asked, when someone die, does the soul continue or the soul just disappear? The Buddha is so quiet. He didn't answer this question. There are 14 questions that the Buddha didn't answer according to our scriptures. So why is that? Yeah, as you say, right? Because the Buddha think that, well, to understand this, to know this, these are some questions that it's not going to help you to get rid of your suffering, not directly helping you. Okay, now we're talking about developing philosophical idea is different thing, right? In Theravada Buddhism, we have to gather all the Buddha's words, everything that he has taught, and put them into a systematic way and make them coherent, right? Make them into a textbook. When you study the Buddhism, you understand, oh, this is the beginning, this is the end, this is how we came into living being, this is how we should practice, and at the end, where we should go. So there's a trend to make everything become philosophically, defensible, right? You have to understand that during 2,000 years ago, during even the Buddha's time, all the different religions, they were continuing debating against each other. They have to prove that what you believe, what your philosophy can hold when you're attacked by other religions. So under that circumstances, Buddhism, we also have to develop, right? What the Buddha didn't say, right? Didn't elaborate. We have to make it to be more complete, like a school of philosophy. So this is what the Mahayana did. They make the very essence of Buddha. Buddha said everything is empty, but Buddha didn't explain how does it mean by emptiness, right? How does it empty? So the Buddha leave a room for discussion. And Theravada said, oh, the empty of the self, but the Dharma is real. Only the form, like the body is not. But Mahayana Buddhism, through the centuries, a few hundred years of debating with all other religions, sects, even debating the Theravada school, they came out, and then the idea become more and more specific. And then they use even more proof to show that even the Dharma itself is not real. So that is a result of centuries of debate and philosophical debate, and how they make the school become more complete. So if you ask me, okay, so what? Well, depends on what you like, right? If you really want to understand Buddhism from the point of view of its philosophical theory, yeah, these are the studies that you can read. Oh, fantastic. This is interesting. This is how Buddhism see the world. This is how Buddhism talk about atom. But understanding atom doesn't help you gain nirvana, right? Does it? Maybe. I don't know. It depends on some people, like some scientists, right? Some Western scientists, when they really study Buddhism, if I also read some articles saying that some quantum physicists, right? They studied quantum physics. Like quantum physics is something that very many things become so bizarre, doesn't make sense. And when they read Buddhism, they say, oh, even a Buddha really mentioned the atom, itself, like smallest thing is atom. And when it comes to emptiness, even that may not be real. So they were really fascinated by what the Buddha may have known during that time. Well, anyway, if you ask me, does it help us to achieve enlightenment? Yes and no. Depends on your background and depends on what you need. Is it okay? All right. Okay. Another new idea is the Buddha is eternal. What does that mean? Eternal. Eternal means that even the Buddha, after he achieved, we call it parinirvana. That means he already achieved enlightenment, right? He is gone from this world. The Buddha never disappear. It's eternal. It's everywhere around us. Though this is the idea that is quite important in Mahayana Buddhism. And it leads to another important point is that everyone can achieve Buddhahood. This is a very important point in Mahayana Buddhism. Everyone can achieve Buddhahood. Right? If I understand correctly, in Theravada Buddhism, we say that, well, the highest goal is to become an arhat, right? But in essence, an arhat is still quite different from the Buddha itself, right? Even though they're both gone into enlightenment, they both will never turn back. They will never suffer anymore. But arhat is still a little bit different from the Buddha. So from a Mahayana point of view, the goal is not to become the arhat, but Buddhahood. So in Mahayana, it make it very strong that our goal is to become a Buddha. So make sure we choose this path and not the other path. So this is one very distinct difference between Mahayana and Theravada Buddhism. Yeah. So this teaching is given in Lotus Sutra. If we have time, we can talk a little bit about what Lotus Sutra is about. All right. It teaches that everyone should become a bodhisattva and take a long time, don't know how many billions of years of practice. Then at the end, you achieve Buddhahood, right? It's take much longer, just like the Buddha did. All right, the last one is the Sukhavati Vyoha, the land of bliss, right? 西方极乐世界, okay? 极乐世界 in Chinese. So this is a very also interesting new teachings or new ideas in Mahayana Sutra. He say that through faith and devotion, right, we can be reborn in the pure land of Amitabha Buddha. Faith and devotion means that you chant the name very sincerely, all right, and you make your mind, and then you understand the vow given by the Amitabha Buddha, and then you align your wish and your vow with Amitabha, then you can be reborn. So this is a new idea that was not found in Theravada Buddhism. Okay, another thing is, and because, right, as we said, if you want to go to the Pure Land, you need a lot of merit. What is a merit? Good karma, right? And one thing is, of course, we understand, oh, I do some good deeds, then the good karma is mine, right? Definitely, it's fine. Definitely. But from the altruistic point of view, the good karma, we call it the merit, can be transferred. Right? This is something quite new in Mahayana Buddhism. It can be transferred. So you can transfer your merit. Let's say there's some disaster happening at the other side of the world. Like, you know what we do? We pray, right? We pray together. So I don't know what Theravada Buddhism called it. They may call it making a prayer, for world peace or for the people to get rid of their suffering. But in Mahayana Buddhism, it's really clear. The praying together to send out the good wishes is a sharing of good merit. It's a transfer. Of course, the transfer doesn't mean that now I got 100 ringgit. If I transfer some 50 to you, I got 50 left. No, that's not the case, right? In Buddhism, mathematics is a little bit interesting. You got 100, you send half to the others, you get 150. Right? So this is the mathematics in Buddhism, right? So the idea of transferring merit is like transferring goodwills, and every time we do some good deed, there's a karma, there's a merit, and we share with other people. So this is the idea of sharing. So this is now that is so the result is karma is no longer individual but collective, right? This is also a new idea in Mahayana Buddhism. Karma is no longer just belong to one person. You have good karma. You can influence the people around you. You can help to change. You can even share some of your good merit with them. It's like we use the example of it's like a candlelight, right? You have a candle, you light it, and you use the light to light the other candle as well. So your light won't become weaker, but you have the whole, everyone else. So this is the idea of altruism, right? We don't just work for ourselves, but for the whole humanity in general. So these are the very basic, some 3 different ideas that we find in Mahayana Sutra. Okay.
Talking about merits, I don't know, but I believe that Theravadan practices, we do practice
Yes.
transfer of merits.
Yes. Yeah, that's why I said I'm not I didn't do much research on that. Yeah, they do transfer of merit, but how you explain the transfer of merit?
Okay.
Right.
All right.
At least I don't know. Maybe you can check how they explain that. But in Mahayana Buddhism, that is the idea of transfer of merits. Okay, I'm not sure whether Theravada has the same idea of transfer of merit or not. Maybe I'm not quite sure how the mechanism work.
Yeah, to that extent, yeah, I think I can agree with you on that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That I'm not sure as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Let's check it out. Yeah, how Theravada Buddhism understand the sharing of merit, dedication of merit. What does that mean? But in Mahayana Buddhism, it's very clear. That is a transfer of merit. The more you transfer, the more you get. it's like getting interest in a bank account. It's a very interesting idea. Yeah, it's very powerful too. Yeah, make us to be more altruistic. We work for other people, but not just for ourselves. Okay. All right. So in Mahayana Buddhism, of course, the goal is to become a bodhisattva. Yeah, it takes much longer time, and we try to delay the entry into nirvana. It means, like many people will wish that, many Buddhists will wish that, oh, after I die this life, I want to come back again, no matter what form. So there's one very famous bodhisattva in Mahayana Buddhism. It's called the Dijang Pusa, right? Dijang Pusa, Bhumi Ksatri. Okay, I check again, yeah. He is very famous because he made a vow. He said that as long as the hell, right? We know that there's one realm in the Buddhist is called a hell. As long as they are still living beings suffering in hell, he won't achieve nirvana. He won't become a Buddha. So that is a very famous vow that he made, right? So to become a bodhisattva, don't go nirvana yet, stay here, help people. That's Mahayana. All right. One thing is okay. I'm sure if you're new to if you're more used to Theravada teachings and you understand that what is this Mahayana Buddhism? There's so many scriptures. There's so many sutras. I don't know what are they about, right? It's true. When I started studying Mahayana Buddhism, I was also in the chaos. I don't know what is what, right? Actually, this is due to also how the early Mahayana text was formed. Mahayana Buddhism arrived in China in the around the time of first century, but Mahayana is not the only school that arrived in China. It came along with other early Buddhist schools as well. Remember there are 18 early Buddhist schools, and Theravada is only one of them. So all these schools, together with Mahayana, arrived in China at the same time. So how do the early Chinese understand about Buddhism? You can imagine it's a chaos, right? Let's imagine today, if you only start school, let's say you start standard one in your primary school, and suddenly your teacher give you all the subjects that you're supposed to learn in 6 years. Maybe initially you have Bahasa Melayu, English, Chinese, fine, right? This you should learn in standard one. And then suddenly you receive something like, oh, physics, chemistry, maths, algebra, calculus. You are standard one. But this thing came at the same time to you. You look at the textbook and say, which one should I start first? Calculus? Yeah, it looks fun. Algebra, right? No, right? You have to start from the very basic, the very core teaching that will lead you to understand more. So this was the same problem that the Chinese were facing in the first century. The text, they just came in randomly. Some by Mahayana teachings, some even they have the Vajrayana. It already started in India, right? Some Vajrayana teaching already started to appear. And then what else? Early Buddhism. So they all mix together. So one of the very important tasks that our early masters did was they make the doctrinal classification. They classify them, oh, this belong to Theravada, or this belong to Mahayana, or this belong to which school of Mahayana? Yogacara, Madhyamaka, or what else, So this is what they do. They create doctrinal classifications according to like hierarchical ordering of the doctrines. Oh, this is supposed to be a little bit deeper, a little bit harder to understand. Okay, this should study later. What are the importance? So at the end, we have like, we see the picture over here. This is one type of them. This is only one type. There are more than like few dozens of this time throughout like more than 1,000 years of the Chinese Buddhism development. This is only one of them. There are more than a dozen of these. How they classify all the texts brought from India to China. So we try to make sense of it. Which one come first? Which one come later? Right? This is a very so this is also a very special characteristic of Mahayana Buddhism that you don't find in Theravada Buddhism. Right? So because Theravada Buddhism, the text was quite fixed, the Nikaya, the Sastra, right? All the Sastra, and then the Vinaya. So all these three baskets were already fixed quite early though. So if you read the Nikaya, they have like 5 kinds of Nikaya inside, right? All are like stories, the Buddha, what he did according to the length of the teaching. So this is not according to the teaching itself, but the length of how it was being presented. But Mahayana Buddhism said, no, it's too difficult. We have Mahayana texts come in and they become harder and harder. So we have to make sense of them. So this is one thing that they did, right? Doctrinal classification that you find in Mahayana Buddhism. All right, now we come to a more interesting thing, the translator. How do we get the text being translated from an Indian language to Chinese? All right, so this is how it is. All right, first, who are they? Who are these people, right? They mainly came from Central Asia and India. Most of them are monks, right? From Central Asia and India. So how do you know that they are foreigners to China? So they usually use a first character in their name. The first character is referred to their country where they from, right? As his surname. Okay, for example, we have someone called Kang Seng Hui. Kang, like Mr. Kang. So Kang is for Sogdia. The first word Kang actually refer to Sogdia is in today's Uzbekistan. Uzbekistan, I hope I pronounced correctly. Yeah. So at that time, Kang is a country, or it's a big city called Sogdia. So that refers, so he uses his first word as his last name, and then his ordained name is Seng Hui, right? The next 2 character. And what else? An, we have a very famous monk from India also, it's called An Sigao. An comes from Parthia in today's Iran. So this monk is from Iran, Iranian monk. Okay, that time not yet Muslim, okay? That time was a Buddhist country. And what else? Zhi, or how you pronounce that? Saitia, Shitia. Yeah, in southern Russia and western Kazakhstan, yeah? Zhi, you use the first character of the country to become a surname. So we can know that, these are the foreign monks from Central Asia and India. And then Zhu Fala, Zhu is India. Okay? So, but how about me? You know myself is Youmin, right? What is my surname? It's already here, right? Monk. Malaysia. That's a good one. I like that. Someone say Ma, right? Because I come from Malaysia. So Ma Youmin, that should be a name. And that's interesting. No. We all use only one word, shi, okay? So this shi didn't come from India. It actually started from a Chinese monk in the 4th century. His name is Tao An, yeah? So he is the one that suggested that all monks who ordain in China, we start to use a surname, which is the first character of Shakyamuni, Shakya,释迦牟尼, Shi. So now Chinese monk, we all have the same surname, right? Of course, before I become ordained, my family name was Yong, but I don't call myself Yong Youmin anymore, right? I call myself Shi Youmin. So anytime you hear the name Shi something, well, very high, very probably this is a Chinese monk, right? So started from the 4th century, you can tell apart. All right, this is a map during the Tang Dynasty. You can see that some of the country in the Central Asia, you can find Sogdiana, Ansi. Okay, what is this, right? So from Central Asia, these translators, these monks, they came all the way to China, to Chang'an, to do the translation work. Okay, they have very important work to do. Okay, how they do it, right? This is very interesting. How they do it? Can you imagine a foreign monk? Maybe he only speaks his language. Maybe he's Iranian. Maybe some maybe Indian language. Maybe Pali. I don't know. Maybe Sanskrit. So when they came to China, they don't speak the local language. How do they translate the text? If you read the Chinese text, the first line is a title, the second line is the translator. You will see that many of them have Indian name, like Ansigao, Zilou this name actually, oh, they're Indian monks, but they don't know Chinese. Or maybe they know, some of them know, after they staying in China for long enough, they know, but initially they don't know. So how are they going to translate that? So this is a process. So they either bring a text with them or they memorize it. They came to China and they just memorize in front of you, blah, 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 It's amazing how they can memorize like thousands and thousands of characters and never mix them up, right? If you go to Tibet or you go to Thailand today, you still can see the monks. It start at a very young age, maybe about 10 years old. They started to memorize the Nikaya, the Vinaya every day. It's amazing. The memory is really powerful, right? They can remember that. So for the monks who came from India, they either bring the text, but texts are very expensive and very rare. Paper are very rare. So many of them, they came, they recite from the memory. So this is how they translate. All right. So, but of course, the translation is a teamwork, right? You cannot do it on one person. So they need at least five procedure. Okay, first, the Indian monk, right? The foreign monk, they read out the text or they recite from memory. They sit here, they start reciting in Sanskrit. Okay, this is the first step. And the second step, of course, they must have someone from China who help them. So the Chinese must be the one who understands Sanskrit. By hearing it, he must be able to understand. Unless the foreign monk himself knows Chinese. If not, you need to find somebody who has learned Sanskrit before or other Central Asian languages. Okay, so he has to hear it and write it down, right? In a way that Chinese can understand. The third person is very important, is the actual one who do the translation. From the sound written down, he start to translate into Chinese. And the fourth one is more like, it's more like a grammarian or someone. He can polish the translation, make it look a little bit more like a local language. And then the finished one was read back to the foreign monk for verification. It sounds simple, but during the peak period for translation in China, the most famous one is Xuanzang, right? The one in the 西游记. What do you call 西游记 in English? Journey to the West, right? Well, the monkey, right? But no, the monkey is not the main character. Main character is the monk, right? He is Xuanzang. He is the one who went to India, brought back hundreds and hundreds of Indian texts and started translation. So he represented the peak of translation period in China. In his team, we would say that there were sometimes hundreds of monks gathering together just to do the translation itself. Imagine hundreds of people sitting in one big hall or different halls doing the translation with these 5 simple processes. Of course, these 5 main jobs we have to be split down to even more. It's like a factory, right? So the model of factory didn't start in Europe, but in China, in a translation center, right? Everyone do a part of it, and they make the translation work. Okay, see the pen? Let's try it, okay? Let's imagine now, okay, let's act this out. I need 4 volunteers. Okay, anyone who has a mic first, you can start it. Okay, what is it that I pretend myself to be an Indian monk? I just came from India. All right, I read out the text to you. And a volunteer, you hear what I say, you write down. All right, and the next one, do the translation. And the next one, polish it. And the final one, read back to me for verification. Of course, I assume I know Chinese too, but I'm not that good. At least I understand Chinese. All right, you want to do that? Don't worry. Of course, I'll give you some help. All right. Imagine, okay? This is, I'm from India, okay? This is Sanskrit. All right. Now, I'm from Iran. I speak a little bit of Chinese. 我只懂一点点中文哈。Let's start now. So everybody, you are my translator. You are my Chinese team. You're sitting there listening to me. So I started to recite for my memory. Okay, I remember all the text. So I said, Vyava lokayatisma pancha skandas hamscha. And then swabhava shunyan pasati shma. Okay? Get it? No? No, didn't get it? Okay. Where's the mic? Okay, you want to read it out? Okay. Just like Malay. You know Bahasa Melayu, right? Read like a Malay. You're fine. Okay. Start by one word at a time.
Valokayati sma pancha skandas. The purple one I cannot read the words.
Thumbs.
Come. Cha. Sorry, I cannot read the words.
Okay. He stood up. Swabhava shunya.
Pasyati sma.
Okay. Do you have a hand? Oh, I think you sound more like Indian than myself. Okay, this is how they work, right? You hear the voice, we hear the read, but of course, for Chinese, we will make the sound into we use the closest Chinese character to represent via va. If we have two characters, loka yati, four more characters, sma, maybe two characters. So this is originally in Chinese, but so that the Chinese people can read it, even though they don't understand the meaning, right? So, Vyava lokayati sma, pancha skandas tamscha, swabhava shunyan pashati sma. Okay, this is the first step, all right? I recite it, you write it down in Chinese character, but here in English, okay? All right, and then what is the next thing? You translate it word by word, okay? So this is the answer. Maybe anyone online who want to try this too? Or Louis? Whoever? Okay. First word, Vyava lokayatisma. What is the meaning? Can you see my slide? Okay, the blue one. Okay, what does that mean? Oh, you have to unmute yourself.
Anyone want to answer?
照见五蕴皆空。
You're so quick. Who's that? Oh my goodness, it's beautiful. All right, you are at the last step, okay? Okay, come back, stay back, slow down. We haven't even polished yet, all right? Okay, the third one is Vyava lokayatisma is translated as he examined. We know the word, right? Pancha is 5. But skandas, is it? Well, skandas, well, they keep it this way. Right? It's a very difficult word. Maybe keep it this way. Thumbs, they are. Cha is and swabhava shunyan is self-empty. Pashatisma is soul. Okay, this is the first stage of translation. We don't care about the grammar. We just translate word by word. That makes sense to us. Okay, so now we have he examined 5 skandhas, they are, and self-empty he saw. It's not Chinese. It's not a sentence. Okay, so what's the next step? Right? He examined the 5 skandhas. Yeah, he polished it, right? He rearranged it. He examined the 5 skandhas. and saw that they are all self-empty. Right. This sounds more like a sentence, right? They rearrange the word because they're two different languages. The grammar is so different. We have to do it this way. Okay, what's the last step? Right, now you read it back to me, right? Can someone read it back to me? Where's the mic? Okay.
He examined the 5 skandhas and saw that they are all self-empty.
Not bad. Quite close. So, but I have some new thoughts. Let's talk it. Okay, what happened? Okay, let's do it this way. He examined the 5 skandhas and saw that they are all empty in nature. Because self-empty is very hard to understand. Let's change it to empty in nature. Is it better? Agree, everyone? Okay. Close. Now, this is our translation, and in Chinese is 照见云皆空, right? Thanks for the someone from the audience just now. You're great. You shouted out the answer. I'm really impressed, right? This is exactly what happened in the translation. Of course, in the actual translation, this is from the Heart Sutra, the shortest Chinese sutra available today, only 260 words. So this 观自在菩萨行深般若波罗蜜多所照见五蕴皆空, right? So the Bodhisattva, he's examined the 5 skandhas, which is how the human being is formed, and then they saw that everything is empty in nature. So you see the Chinese is so beautiful, 照见蕴皆空. All the words are there, and it's so concise, it's so brief and concise and exact. So this is the translation, like a sentence as short as this, actually have gone through steps. Maybe there are even more in the actual translation side. So this is how the translation, the Chinese translation can become so beautiful and easy to memorize for these days. From wherever lokaya tisma panchaskandhas all the way to 照见五蕴皆空. That's it, right? So in China, we don't really learn Sanskrit anymore nowadays. But if you really learn the Sanskrit, we'll become more appreciate to the Chinese text, because most of the Chinese texts are translated, and they had Sanskrit texts, but they are no longer. Many of them are gone, long gone. We don't see them. But for those that we can find them, there's still a small amount of text are still available in Sanskrit, and then we bring them, put them side by side with the Chinese, especially the one translated by Xuan Zhang. My God, it's beautiful. You can even match word to word. Sometimes it's a little bit different here and there, but it's beautiful. You can understand the text more. So this is a translation process. Yeah. Okay, so of course there are many types of Chinese sutras. Some of them actually translated from an original text, right? Someone bought it from India, or someone came from India and memorized it, yeah, and recite it. So this is one type. And another type is the foreign monk came here and he gave a sermon. He gave a Buddhist dharma talk, and the disciples started to make notes, write down like what you're doing now, write down scriptures, and then at the end they compiled it. And then they translate into Chinese. So this is also one type of sutra that already included in, we call it the Buddhist Chinese canon. So some of them actually are not exact translation itself, but it's like a class notes during a Dharma talk, but given by the monks who came from India. Okay, so this one type. And what else? Compile from original text. Some masters, they take one text, part of it, another text, maybe a few texts, and say, oh, these are similar. Let's make them together. So he compiled it, make it into a new one. Right? So this is one type. And then the other one is, of course, written by the Chinese master themselves. So we can tell from the Chinese canon, like this is the Zhonghua Da Zhang Jing. This is one of the very complete Chinese canon that available today. Now, today we have like more than 20 over set of Chinese canon, which look like this, like volume is like this. that we can check for them. So it's huge. Yeah, it's huge. Okay. Any question at the moment? Yeah, fine. Need a break? Okay. You might need to take the mic so everyone can hear you.
Could there be different variation, meaning in the translation, if one sutra is translated by different parties?
What do you mean? You mean that in Chinese we have different translations?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they could mean different thing, right? Today?
Yeah, good question. Actually, it's very complicated. How to say? Okay. Remember like Xuan Zhang, right? The one from Tang Dynasty during the 6th, 7th century. He went to India, right? That was maybe 7th century. He went to India, he studied there for 17 years. He brought back thousands of texts. Okay, those texts were available at 7th century in India at that time, right? But before him, there are also few monks from China who went to India to get the text. Who are they? They are Fa Xian, and one the earliest in record. Of course, they are so more earlier than him, but he's more famous. He actually did some translation. He's in 4th century. 4th century, he went to India. He went to India, of course, these are a few hundred years apart, right? We cannot be sure that the same text, after you copy by few people, but how do you keep a text? Nowadays, we go to photocopy machine, right? Make a copy, make it digitalized. Forever, it's the same. But in the old time, the best material can maybe last you, I don't know, 10 years, 20 years ago. It depends on the condition. So what the monks do is every 10 years, they have to recopy all the texts, one page at a time, one word at a time. And then after 10 years, another group of monks will translate again, will copy again. So it's very interesting when we study all those manuscripts, we compare, right? Maybe two texts should be exactly the same. It should be the photocopy of the other, right? But when we compare, we saw there are many scribble errors. It's not, they didn't have paper to write, pen to write at that time. They used a knife to carve on
Bamboo.
we call it, not a bamboo, we call it the kind of leaf, papyrus. Papyrus is one type, right?
Yeah.
It's like a knife to actually cut into the leaf, one stroke at a time. So imagine you do this work from maybe 5 a.m., maybe until 10 a.m., you start to feel a little bit sleepy, right? You know that, and pop, another stroke, become another word. So we see, and then what are more interesting is sometimes we can see the whole line being repeated in the next one. It's very interesting. You compare this manuscript. Okay, what I'm trying to say is what we've seen as original text is not so original. It was copied again and again and again. It's like a DNA, being copied. Even DNA got a problem. DNA, after a few times, it mutates. Same with the text. It was copied by people. So there was scribble errors. Sometimes they miss a few pages. Sometimes they repeat the same line again and again. So what happened is, after 300 years, the text you found in the 4th century, even though they're supposed to be the same, but after it's 7th century, they might be a little bit different. But this is one reason. So what happened is, Fa Xian, right? The one who went to India at 4th century, he came back with a lot of texts. He started translating it. He said, this is the best translation. I follow the text, the Indian text exactly. I do it the best job. Here you go. Okay. But after 400 years, so when Xuan Zhang, he went to India, he also got mine is original text from India. And then he also translate accordingly. But when you compare the Chinese text, it looks so different. Why? So there could be many things can happen between the few hundred years gap, right? Scribble error, or maybe the text belong to one school and then the other school, they also got the same. They say, no, I don't agree with this line. The guy from next door might have memorized it wrongly, so he corrected it. It happens. So at the end, what we get in the hand, the manuscript, what we so-called original. So who is the original? We will never know. We might not be able to have the original one. Maybe it's long gone. But we have photocopy. Photocopy, there are mistakes. So back to the question, why are there so many different, like let's say even the Heart Sutra, right? 260 words. You have few versions, you have 6 versions of them. 6. If you check the Chinese canon, the most famous one, 261, because it is the most beautifully translated, easy to memorize. It was by Xuan Zhang, right? But there are 5 more. Some with a little bit longer. Yeah, usually it's a bit longer, but the content is almost identical. Just a little bit, different here and there. So why? Back to your question, are they different texts? No, they're the same text, right? It just happens that the Sanskrit text, if we believe that, the Heart Sutra have an original Sanskrit text, the text they got is already different because it passed through different hands, different copier, some just, not all, like maybe some was just too late in the night, the candle wasn't enough, they couldn't see clearly. So this is what happened. It's a really complicated process. Yeah. So nowadays we have variations of text, even of the same Heart Sutra. You have to compare with others to make sure you got the correct one. So what I did was, I'm doing the manuscript comparison in my PhD. I'm still writing my PhD thesis. One of them is to compare the text. Yeah, it's really painstaking. I can tell you. I have like how many? I got at least 8 versions, and I have to check word by word and to make notes whenever I find a difference. Even the wordings are different. The Chinese character in the 4th century, they change. In 8th century, the stroke become a little bit different. Some are simplified, some become more complicated. So how do you know they belong to the same character? Right? Let alone to guess the original Sanskrit. So it's a painstaking process to check, but I think it's like I see myself as like a CSI, the crime scene investigator. I don't know who was a culprit, who did a mistake here and there, I have to find out. So that's a way to understand the map. But they are so important is because the message itself, if we misread a word, the whole meaning could be different. Yeah, so it's very important. First step in if you want to do really scholastic Buddhism, the first thing you need to learn, you need to have the skill to identify the text and to find the best text possible. No one dare to say that they have the original text. It's impossible. Okay. Why I say it is I think in last century there was a debate between the Theravada Buddhism and the Mahayana Buddhism. Like some of the Theravada monks, they said, "Oh, we are the original Buddhism. You are the Mahayana is not spoken by the Buddha." Yeah, this is what they claim. So now I came back to you. What is original? Right? The Pali text only appear at least 400 years after the Buddha Nirvana. 400 years. What happened in 400 years? People just from teacher to student, they just recite the text and they memorize it from one person to one person. Right? Of course, it depends on your IQ. It depends on your skill. The monk next to you might have, might have remembered wrongly or missed a few words here and there. So this is come back to the question of what is original. Okay, so something that we can think about. You have to use the mic so that anyone can hear.
The early Buddhism was the monks chant in a group, so the chances of what you call mistake is less.
Yes, it's true. They chant the group, yes, when they gather together. What if they go back home? No, they come from different part of the country in India. Oh, maybe this guy from PJ, that guy from Cheras, that guy from Ipoh. Okay, they gather here maybe once a month. Well, let's chant, make sure we don't forget. Okay, they maintained it for 1 or 2 years. After 2 years, when they went back to the home in Ipoh, and then one night, okay, come, student, I will teach you what I remember. They start to recite. What if he missed one word? But his student already remember it. So we cannot guarantee the zero defect is there. So yeah, think about it logically. Yeah. Of course, yeah, the purpose of reciting together is to make sure, we have few mistakes as possible. But yeah, that's one thing. Recitation is one thing. But when it came down to paper, that's another thing, right? Scribbling, copying is a big problem. All right. Should we carry on? Luis, got anything there or just keep on?
Yes, Shifu, there's some question here on the chat, but they are quite long ones. Let me
Okay.
read one by one.
You
The
think-
first one is Venerable. May I ask, how can Buddhas and Bodhisattvas transfer merits to devotees? Some of them do not have practice, do not do practice. How does this work karmically?
Who do not practice? How do they know it doesn't practice? Anyway, well, I assume they all practice, okay? Because you don't know who doesn't practice, right? As soon as they practice, how do they transfer the merit? As I say, in Buddhism, we use a parable. We say that transferring a merit is like you use your own candle to lit another candle. So the idea is you make a wish, a good wish to benefit other people. So that is what we today call altruism. Yeah, the act of altruism. You do, let's say you practice giving. You know that giving will get you good merit, but you don't keep the oh, I got good merit, keep it for myself, my bank account getting bigger and bigger. No, you give it away even more. So that is like a positive loop. So by sharing is the mechanism behind. So the main concept is the wish that you make that other people can benefit as well. So this is the thing that is very important in the merit sharing. Yeah, the wish itself. Or maybe Luis, maybe we can come back to the question a bit afterwards.
Yes, I think
or-
we come back again. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. I think we have another maybe 30 minutes, before we open for questions. So let's go to a little bit about Madhyamaka and Yogacara. Well, of course, we talk about Mahayana Buddhism. Oh, can you see the word? Is okay. Anyway, Madhyamaka, right? Madhyamaka is the philosophy of the middle way. Middle way. What is the middle way? The founder is an Indian monk. He is in the second and third, lived between the second and third century in India. His name is Nagarjuna. You must know her name. His name in Chinese is Long Su. Long is a dragon. Su is the tree. Right? You must have heard of him, Long Su, Nagarjuna. He's a good debater. He talks about everything is empty. So his teaching was based on a perfection of wisdom. Perfection of wisdom is the okay. It's a collection of texts. Yeah? It's not just one text itself. It contains about 40 texts. Some scholars have did a calculation here. It's about 40 different texts that combine together become the perfection of wisdom. So these are very huge texts, right? So in this text, okay, Madhyamaka, the two most important thing that you need to, maybe is we talk about two truths. Yeah. One is conventional truth and the other one is ultimate truth. What is conventional truth? Conventional truth is your everyday experience. Right? You see a tree, there's a tree. If I hear you speaking, if I see you eating, you are eating, right? These are the real thing you cannot deny. So valid connection, that means that I believe what I see, I believe what I hear. Right? So things, and then in conventional truth, the Madhyamaka said, well, it's like a real world where we experience, right? We feel that the cups appear as this. Yes, it appears. It has a function. We can use it to drink water, right? It's real. The cup is real. The water is real. I can use it to cure my thirst. So conventionally, everything is fine. Yeah, this is a Madhyamaka. But you say that, but in order to achieve enlightenment, you have to know there's another level. It's called ultimate truth. Right? The goal is to gain, to understand what is ultimate truth. What is ultimate truth? It's a direct, non-conceptual perception of the emptiness phenomena. Yeah. Everything is empty, you know. As I said before, even to the atom itself, even to the smallest thing you can find in the world, everything is empty itself. It's not real. So it's a negation of inherent existence, right? So there's a conventional truth and ultimate truth. I think, but what Nagarjuna say is ultimate truth is something that you cannot describe. And this is the problem, right? Whenever you want to describe ultimate truth, whenever you use language, and because he said language itself is already very misleading, you cannot explain something that you cannot even use your concept. Anytime your concept arises, you have, oh, I think this is it. The moment you think, is already conventional truth. Okay, so this is a little bit hard to understand the actual meaning of ultimate truth because we are not, if we don't practice, you don't gain that of wisdom, you're never going to understand that. So this, but we know it's there. You know, like ultimate truth is something like when you get rid of all your concepts, all your languages, all your feelings, all your sensation, then the ultimate truth will appear. But that is the goal, right? Something we cannot achieve at the moment. So conventional truth means that something that we believe everyone will accept. Did you hear the American president's debate last night? Part of it, the news. There was one bizarre thing I heard. Yeah. Well, one candidate was saying, right, some of the immigrants, actually, in what state? In Springfield, all the immigrant means that not American, right? They came from other country. The immigrants, they are eating the Springfield people's pets. They catch their cats, their dogs, and they eat them. So this is one point that one of the candidate, right, Mr. P, he used to attack Miss H, right, by saying that, you see, because your immigration, what do you call that, regulation was so weak, you're allowing these criminals coming to our country, they eat our pets. Okay. Well, then it came into economics. It came to the news this morning, and everybody was bizarre. Okay, so is it a fact? All right, it's something that has been debunked, right? Because this news, right, this kind of message, actually appear in X. You know X, right? By Elon Musk. He was the one who actually helped to propagate this false message. These immigrants are eating pets, dogs and cats, in Springfield. He was the one who helped to propagate. So many Americans believe that. Can you believe that? I cannot believe people would believe this kind of story, right? So at the end, the president candidate, he used this as a way to attack the opponent by saying the truth. So what is the truth here? This is not even conventional truth, right? Conventional truth means that at least we agree among society, among people around. This is the truth, this is a fact. But according to the Madhyamaka, even the facts, anything you can fact, what you believe to be facts, they still belong to conventional truth. When it comes to ultimate truth, you can't even say it. You don't even think. All right, there's like another realm that you cannot imagine. All right, so these are the two truths, the Madhyamaka. All right, let's go to the one that opposed that, Yogacara. I love this picture, right? This is called a virtual reality. You wear the mask. I think this is exactly how the Yogacara thinks. Yogacara thinks that we are all wearing the glass, the virtual reality. We are all wearing this mask, these glasses, and we see through the world, and we see the world. So everything is from our imagination. So this is the basic, this is the most important teaching from Yogacara, right? You say that Oh, it is founded in about 4th century by Asanga and Vasubandu. They are brothers, right? They are very interesting story about how they become the Mahayana. Yeah, both actually came from Theravada, came from early Buddhist sects, and then they became Mahayana. There was a very interesting story about how they converted. Well, not convert, how they became a Mahayana. Anyway, so Yogacara means the practice of yoga, right? And meditation. So this is yoga and achara. Achara is the practice of yoga. So yoga doesn't just mean, as I said last week, doesn't just mean exercise, stretching, doing all those impossible body posture, to show how soft you are. But yoga initially is more about meditation, how you control your mind, how you control emotions, how you behave the way that you want it to behave, not being controlled by emotion. This is yoga. All right, so what the Yogacara says is that the world we experience is constructed by the mind, by consciousness. And then they start to explain what are the consciousness. You got 8 levels. Okay, well, we're not going to go into detail in just the Yogacara will give you, look, your Yogacara, of course, he say that, of course, the self is empty, right? The human being, the self is empty. But how? I said empty, then I have to propose a model of how this work, how the mechanism work. So they propose the idea of the 8 consciousness. It's about the mind, how the mind works. So this is Yogacara. Compared to Madhyamaka, they negate everything. It's not real, it's not there, it's not real, but they don't give you, so what? After you negate everything, they don't give you an answer of what it's about. Right? So this is the difference. So this is why after Madhyamaka, the Yogacara started a bit later than Madhyamaka. It's because Yogacara, they try to fill the gap. All right, we know everything is empty, yeah, because the Buddha says so, of course. Emptiness is empty, yeah. But we are Mahayana, we are both Mahayana. We believe everything is empty, of course. But as you just mentioned, so what? Yeah. If I say everything is empty, are we not going to practice now? Because after I die, I don't die, it's the same, right? They 无来无去, of course, in the Chinese, they say that 无去无来. Yeah. The Buddha never came. The Buddha never gone. Always there. It's not going to help us to practice. So the Yogacara, it appeared 1 or 2 centuries after the Madhyamaka, is because they try to answer the question that left behind by Madhyamaka. Okay, now we know it's empty. So what? How are we going to practice? How are we going to put the theory into daily life? So they propose 8 consciousness, right? Is very close to psychology. Yeah, the unconscious mind, the 5 sensory organs, and things like that. So, and then they propose 3 kinds of reality. Okay, anyway, just hear the name, right? You don't have to remember them. Parikalpita, Paratantra, and Parinispana. What is Parikalpita? Parikalpita is something like definitely unreal. Okay, I will give you an example, right? Let's say you go to a camping at night, right? You sit with a tent, and at night you came out, you want to go to the bathroom, and on a path is so dark, and you walk around, you feel like, oh, you stepped on a snake, right? And you're so shocked, you yell, and you shouted and went back to your tent, right? You didn't dare to go out to pee for the whole night. And the next morning, you went out with your friend, come on, I saw a snake last night, I stepped on it. Go and check. And what you saw laying on the ground was a stick, right? A stick. All right. So this is, the snake is the first level, parikalpita. That means you mistake something for something. It's like something that you imagine, right? This is a snake. But actually it's what? It's a stick. So paratantra. That means that, oh, it's nothing but a stick. The stick is here because, well, it rained last night, like the wind was so strong, it just blown off a branch from a tree, it lay on the ground, and at the time you step on it, there are many reasons that cause the existence here. So paratantra means they explain the condition for the stick to be there, right? And the last level is a Parinispana, means that, well, even the stick is not real, okay? That is more like a Madhyamaka way of saying. It's not real, the stick, even if you break the snake to smaller and smaller pieces, at the end you found nothing. The stick is gone. Right? Okay. Anyway, so these are the three levels of reality that proposed by Yogacara. It's a little bit different from Madhyamika, but how different? We will see afterwards. Okay. Comparison between Madhyamaka and Yogacara. When we talk about Madhyamaka, emphasize on emptiness. Everything is empty. Forget it. No discussion. Full stop. Everything is empty. But Yogacara say, no, consciousness only. Yeah. Even though it's empty, but our mind, at least our mind is real. At least our mind, your thinking is real. So the emptiness describes the true nature of our world, but they didn't explain how the suffering works. So the consciousness, the Yogacara says that they give you explanation. It's like a science. It's like a science they try to explain how the brain works, how the mind works, right? And how we can practice to go into nirvana. Right? Madhyamaka says things are empty, and Yogacara says that everything is the projection of the mind. Right? So the Madhyamaka, he said two truth, conventional, right? And ultimate. But the Yogacara say, oh, there are three. There are not only two. Parikalpita, Paratantra, and Parinispana. So they're almost matching, right? So Yogacara will break the conventional truth to two levels, right? One is the mystical one. You see the snake, but actually it's a branch. The branch itself is a second level. It's a truer, it's like, closer to the reality, right? And the Parinispana is almost like an ultimate reality, something that you cannot mention. It's something out of your imagination. So they're really close, but Yogacara choose to explain it in an easier term, easier to apply. Why is it easier to apply? Like when you know there are two truths, like when we just talk about what Mr. Trump said last night, when the immigrant, they started to catch the dogs and eat them. This is not real. It's something that he made up, right? It's something that was made up in the social media. It's not true, has been debunked. So this is what? Parikalpita. Something that came from imagination. But what is the reality? Paratantra. The reality is, according to some reports, those immigrants from Haiti, actually, they are really hard-working people. They even help to boost the economy of Springfield. Like they have already encountered very bad economic situation for the past few years. Now, because of immigrants, the economy is back to life again. So this is the reality, yeah. But because we choose to look at the wrong one, we choose Parikalpita that create a lot of suffering in our world. So the lesson is when we try to see everything happening in the world, try to look at it from the lens of the Yogacara that tell us what is the real, at least what is a fact, what is the real, what is opinion. So they're different. All right. Madhyamaka and Yogacara. Sorry, you can't see the word, yeah. Can I bring it down? Okay, the perfection of wisdom. Okay. Is it okay? Any question at the moment? Yeah, I need to speak to.
What is the prevailing thinking now in the Malaysian Mahayana? Is it, as I understand it, is not Yogacara because it's kind of like faded away already, right? It's not the popular one. So in all these Mahayana centers in Malaysia, what are they practicing?
Okay, then you have to talk a little bit about the history of Chinese Buddhism. Because during the prime period of the Chinese Buddhism, usually we say about there are 10 schools. They are most important 10 different schools. Yogacara, Mahayana is only one of them, right? And then there are 8 more, right? But after like few hundred years, maybe 1,000 years, and then actually the Mahayana, Chinese Mahayana, many came from China, right? So we actually most of the schools actually are directly transmitted from China. So as you said, Yogacara, the school doesn't exist anymore in China. But the idea, everything comes from the mind, has been absorbed. The idea has been absorbed in all schools. Don't you find it very familiar? Everything comes from the mind. You hear it, yeah, everywhere you hear it, like in modern, especially in the West, right? Tibet, even Tibetan Buddhism. I remember I had a teacher who is a Theravada monk. He even tells us that you just imagine it. Your suffering comes from imagination. And then my Tibetan teacher always tell me that happiness comes from the mind. Happiness comes from the mind. So what are these ideas? Everything comes from the mind. It's Yogacara idea. But nowadays, you don't find a specific school called Yogacara. No, we don't. It's interesting, yeah. But we need to talk about history. That will take a long time to explain it. But just know that the Yogacara school disappeared, but the idea has been absorbed into all different schools. And even after a while, you can see that some Madhyamaka, the Madhyamaka school, the followers, they even combine Yogacara and Madhyamaka. So in India, we have someone called Yogacara Madhyamika. These are the people who, in ultimate truth, the true truth, they accept the Madhyamaka, but in daily life, they accept Yogacara. They say Yogacara is better in understanding daily life. But in understanding ultimate, no. The Madhyamaka is better. This is what they think. So it's like a recipe. You pick this one and then you mix up to be a new dish. So many of the Buddhist school become like this, become mix and match. Yeah, but Yogacara idea is everywhere. Yeah. Anytime you hear someone say, happiness comes from the mind. Okay, everything comes from the mind. That is Yogacara, okay? Okay? Okay, the perfection of wisdom scriptures. Okay. This is the scriptures we talk about. What happened here? Okay. This is the earliest Mahayana Sutra that teach on emptiness, shunyata. As I say, this, what we call the perfection of wisdom, is very long. Right? The most basic one is they have 8,000 lines. There's one version of the text has 8,000 lines. Another version got 25,000 lines. And last version has 100,000 lines. Okay. So what happened there? From 8,000 to 100,000, what happened? All right. This shows the development, expansion of the very fundamental idea in the same text after years, like the people who use the text to teach, they find, oh, I come into a class, I have student today I will teach the perfection of wisdom. And then by teaching, of course, when you use the text to teach, he will add in maybe examples, add in different ideas, mix and match. And then later on, the student, when they record the whole teaching, people also memorize it. So it becomes longer and longer and longer. Of course, sometimes it gets shorter. So this is a very interesting phenomena of the Buddhist text. Sometimes you find different versions. It's supposed to be the same, yeah, but some are much longer, some are shorter. Yeah. Usually it started from a short one to a long one, yeah. But sometimes if from a long one to a short one, also we have some example of that too. So the lesson is, if you hear a text, a sutra, never think that this is the original, this is original and never change. No, all Buddhist texts change from time to time. Yeah. So of course, if you have print down in paper, maybe it's hard to change, but sometimes it still does. Yeah. So nothing is original. The same text also change. So the Heart Sutra, and also we have the Jing Gang Jing in Chinese. The Diamond Sutra also belong to the perfection of wisdom. Yeah. Perfection of wisdom is called the般若Jing. Yeah.般若Jing. Prajna Paramita. Prajna Paramita is a name of the text. The Heart Sutra belongs to one of it. So there's one saying that the Heart Sutra is a summary of all the parameters, all the perfection of wisdom. It summarized like how many volumes of it to become in 260 words. Isn't that amazing? Yeah, that's really beautiful. So this is a Heart Sutra. I hope you can see it. I'm going to move this up. Yeah, the Heart Sutra. The Chinese is 色不异空，空不异色，色即是空，空即是色。Oh, form does not differ from emptiness, nor does emptiness differ from form. Whatever is form, that is emptiness. Whatever is emptiness, that is form. It means A is B, B is A. That's it. So this is the essence of the Heart Sutra, and the Heart Sutra is the essence of the Prajna Paramita, 100,000 lines. Now we use 4 lines to describe the essence of the essence. Emptiness and existence, well, form, I mean existence, they are not different. Easy to understand, right? Well, I never understand. It's pretty hard, yeah? But that's the essence of teaching. So it says that Xuanzang, right, the one who went to India, so he said that he actually recited the Heart Sutra when he was in a desert, when he was facing a lot of challenges. He almost died of thirst and hunger, and there's his own diary. He came back from India and he wrote one book on it. He said, yeah, he mentioned about how he survived by chanting this sutra, and then he got miracles happen to him. Wow, so this Heart Sutra becomes so famous in China. Yeah, the Xinjing Heart Sutra. We chant it every day in our daily practice, and then we have to memorize it. And the Diamond Sutra, okay, okay, just very quickly, I'll read it through. I think I should be able to finish. He said, okay, the Blessed One is a Buddha, right? He said, yeah, Subhuti is his disciple. One who has set out on the way of a bodhisattva should produce a thought in this manner. All living beings should be led by me to final nirvana in the realm of nirvana, which leaves nothing behind. But after having led living beings thus to final nirvana, there's no living being whatsoever who has been led to nirvana. Right? Get it? Okay, just keep reading. And why is that? If, Subhuti, a conception of a living being were to occur to a bodhisattva, or conception of a personal soul, or conception of a person is not to be called a bodhisattva. And why is that, Subhuti? That which is called one who has set out on the way of a bodhisattva, that is not a thing. But this is also the very profound teaching of emptiness. It means that, okay, when you become a bodhisattva, what is the aim of bodhisattva? To help people, right? It says that if you have the goal in your mind, oh, I want to help people, no, go out and do it, that is not a bodhisattva. A bodhisattva know that even the very idea of people actually say what? People is just a concept. The act of helping is a concept. All these are concepts, right? You don't hold tight to them, right? So it becomes more fluid in a way. So this is a Buddha's teaching on emptiness. Okay, this is from the Diamond Sutra. It's from part of the also very important text in Chinese. Okay, so then again, so what? You ask me, so what? All right, let's see how to practice emptiness. So from a text, we get 2 very important points on how to put them into practice, right? How to practice emptiness. The first one is, okay, so it can be summed up as 2 points. One is, we should become a bodhisattva for the sake of all beings. Okay? That's okay, right? Then no problem. If you want to start studying or practice Mahayana Buddhism today, this is the first thing you have to do. Make a vow, make a wish. I want to become a bodhisattva for the sake of all human beings. Wow. Great, right? Simple. Simple. Sounds simple. All right. Just make a wish. Okay. But the second thing is hard. Second thing is hard. What is the second thing? It tells you there's no such thing as bodhisattva. The first thing it tells you, you have to become a bodhisattva. And the next thing is, there's no such thing as bodhisattva. So these are the two very kind of like contradicting view in the Mahayana Sutra, especially in the we call that in the Diamond Sutra. This is a summary of this conversation. He said, you should become a bodhisattva. Fine, go. No, this is our goal. And they tell you, hey, wait, there's no such thing as bodhisattva. So how do you find a balance in between? So to accept both these contradictory facts, if you can accept these two, you can combine these together, make it your belief, make it your practice, you understand them so well, congratulations, then you have chief enlightenment. This is the goal of the practice of emptiness. Okay, in short, to become a bodhisattva is what? Compassion, right? Right? How about there's no such thing as bodhisattva? That is wisdom. So in Buddhism, we always say Buddhism is, learning Buddhism is about 2 feet standing on the ground. One is compassion, one is wisdom. Right? We always hear that in all sort of Buddhism. Compassion and wisdom. So in the emptiness teaching, it tells us, okay, you have to have compassion. How? You need to become like a saint, like a bodhisattva, to help all beings. There's compassion. You need to help people. But wisdom tells you that, wait, when you help people, remember the very idea of wanting to help, the idea of wanting to become who and who. These are all about what? Your imagination. These are all about your conceptions. At the end, the conception can mislead you and make you make mistake. So, well, how? They tell me how. Yeah, this is wisdom. You need to find a way to reconcile these two. I want to become one, but I want to become a bodhisattva which does not exist and help the people which are not real. It's like a game in the world. But anyway, it's so profound, right? This is the essence of the teaching of the emptiness in Mahayana Buddhism. Of course, understanding is one way, one thing. To be able to practice that takes life a long while, not just this life, take a very, very long time. But anyway, and of course, we have even more detailed instructions, the 6 perfection of paramitas, like how to actually, to be compassionate to others, practice generosity, ethical discipline, behave in a way, follow the ethical rules, be patient, don't get angry easily, joyful effort, put the effort in the right way, don't watch too much of drama, especially when the Netflix and everything becomes so cheap nowadays, only 20 over ringgit per month, because millions of a free movie online. No, don't get into that. Once you start, you cannot stop. That's the thing. Okay, meditative concentration and wisdom. So these are the 6 practices that the bodhisattva will practice over and over again. Okay, in summary, so for non-Mahayana sources, the text outside of Mahayana, they will say that they will describe bodhisattva as a way of life. They describe it. Oh, this is how the bodhisattva live. And I remember I think in the Nikaya, I read many times. They say talk about bodhisattva. They say the Buddha Shakyamuni was the perfect example of a bodhisattva, because before Buddha Shakyamuni became the Buddha in this life, in our world, he practiced aeons, billions and billions of years of bodhisattva. He was the example, the perfect example. But in non-Mahayana text, the idea of bodhisattva is a description. It describes to you, this is what the Buddha did. But maybe we don't have to follow. Maybe. No, it's just a case. But in Mahayana, it's not. Mahayana is very firm. We say that the bodhisattva way of life is a prescription. It's like a doctor giving you a pill. Take this and eat this. It's an instruction. So if you want to follow Mahayana practice, the first vow we have to make is we have no choice. Bodhisattva is the only choice. Okay, so this is the difference of the two teachings. All right. Of course, in modern days, of course, in reality, even in Mahayana Chinese Buddhism, there are of course there are lots of monastics who choose to live in the mountain, like just to practice themselves, and you never see them, right, until they achieve certain level, I don't know, of dhyana. Of course, so it's still at the end, it backs to your own choice. But in general, Mahayana Buddhism, the Bodhisattva career, okay, the Bodhisattva path is the only way to go. Yeah. All right. I give you some reference books. You can write it down. These are the books that I find if you have a need further reading. The Foundation of Buddhism by Rupert Gettin. The second one, The Buddhist Thought by Paul Williams. The last one is Chinese Buddhism by Yu. Let me see the name. Okay, Yu Jinfang. Yeah, so the Foundation of Buddhism is the earliest one. And then the Buddhist Thought is around year 2000, and the Chinese Buddhism, Mathematic History. This just came out a few years ago. So these three books I find very rich. They are very famous scholars. Yeah, they are well-known scholars for, especially Yu. Yeah, she is a professor at in America. She is what do you call that? Specialist in Guan Yin Pusa. You know Guan Yin Pusa, right? Avalokitesvara. So she's the expert in it. So she knows Chinese Buddhism. So if you are interested in learning more about what we have been talking for these 2 days, so these are the books that you can go to. All right, I think that's all I have to share today. Any feedback, question, any thoughts?
There are some questions.
Some.
Yeah, Shifu, there are some questions in the chat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or any?
Maybe you want to help to maybe I'll read out the next one. Yeah, okay. Dear Venerable, there are so many suttas out there, so many in the 大正藏, eh? 大正藏, probably even more in the Tibetan versions like the Kanyu and Tangyu. So can you
Tangyu and
please
Tangyu,
guide
yeah.
us? Yeah, guide us for a beginner, a lay person, where and what should one learn and how to learn in an orderly manner.
Oh, never start by reading the whole canon. No, like, okay, let's talk about Chinese canon. One book is about the thickness of a dictionary. It's about 1,000 pages, very thin. The paper is so thin, but the book is so thick, right? One volume is like this. So the whole Chinese canon is about, we have 100 volumes, all right? So how are you going to read them? It took me like 1 or 2 days just to read one page. If you have like, I don't know, 1,000 pages per book, you're 100, so you're 100,000 pages. How many years is it going to take you? No, you cannot read them in that order. Yeah, you will never get the foundation of it. So I would suggest go through the book list I just gave you. The Foundation of Buddhism, Buddhist Thought, these 3 books, they give you a very thorough and generic and important comprehensive introduction to Buddhism in a whole. Yeah, definitely, highly recommended. Don't read the canon. Don't read the canon. Well, you will never get anything out of it by reading it by yourself. You need to read guidance book like this. Okay. All right. More questions?
So maybe the next question. Amitofo Dhamma Master Youmin. Number 1, the first question is kindly explain on the 9 and 12 divisions of the scripture dispositions 9和12部经. That's the first question. And second question is kindly explain on the 天台 great master 之一 5 periods and 8 teachings. 是吗？天台大
Okay,
师的
the 5
字
periods
字
and 8 teaching. These are what we talked about just now. The classification of texts. I don't think I got time to really explain that. It's a way they divide the Wu Jiao means that they divide the teachings from 5 different times according to their what do you call it? This is the Wu Jiao. So I have this picture here. That means that it divides all the Buddha teaching according to their levels. The first level is for people who are kind of new, and a higher level for Mahayana, and then Mahayana, even there are so different periods of Mahayana, the earlier, the middle, the later stage. And the last one is like 一乘言教 means that everyone become one, right? The unity. So the Wu Jiao means that it separates the teaching according to their profoundness, the easier one to the hard one. And 师宗 means that according to this, and then the zhong here means the school, the sects, the school that appear at certain time in history. So they divide them according to which category they are actually compared to. Yeah, they are parallel to this. So these are the way that the Tiantai master famous of doing their doctrinal classification. Yeah, you just need to know how they divide the text. That's all.
Okay, 师傅,
And
there
the
are
Wu
3 more
Jiao,
questions.
Jiu Jiao or 12 Jiao, it's just Wu Jiao is like they divide into 5. So Jiu Jiao means that some also they divide into 9 or 12. So it depends on how you want to categorize them. Yeah.